You know how some conversations are just more memorable than others. Well, I had one of those memorable conversations about 10 years ago with a former client. And the reason I remember it so well is because it allowed me to help so many other people with what we talked about that day. A former client called. She'd just taken on a new job a few months before, and it was the role that it had everything she wanted. It was a big stretch for her, working for a company that was doing work that she really valued, with leadership that believed in her and was really supporting her, and a role that was super energizing. But that day that she called, she said she had just called to catch up, but it didn't take her long to tell me the truth, which was that she thought she was failing and she was just calling to, get some perspective. But by the end of the conversation, she was standing tall and confident again. And probably within a year, she was able to look back and say, wow, I've really made good progress. I've accomplished, or my team and I have accomplished a lot. So this video shares what I talked about with her that day that helped her get back to a better place. Because anyone who's pressing against the system or trying to lead change, like you, will find yourself in the exact same place at some point. Hi, I'm David with another entry into the leadership library for people like you who see a better future, and metaphorically, you're the person who's running into the burning building when everyone else is running out. So I'll tell you what we talked about because I want you to be able to apply it the next time you're leading some big change yourself or living through a big transformation in your life. And so that you can apply it with the next team or organization that you're leading, because it will apply there as well. And look, it doesn't matter what the big change you're leading in. I'm just going to plot a sort of a metaphorical way that this shows up. If you're a math expert, this is metaphorical, all right? Remember that. But I think it will make sense to you. Let's just say that, for leading transformation, we're going to use this X and Y axis. So the Y axis represents results, your satisfaction with results. Are things going well or not? The higher you get, the better things are. And here from left to right is time. And so on any given day, let's just plot the results that we get. So at the very beginning of the transformation, your results may look like this. And then we get another dot. And over day, you'll have dots showing up along, showing the progress that you're making. There may be ups, there may be downs, there may be some big downs along the way. There may be some spikes. But generally, it's going to be a scattered plot of results. On the particular day that my client called, she was calling me from here. She just had a drop in performance. It wasn't good news. And she was comparing herself to just something that had happened not very far back, just very recently. And so she told herself, oh my gosh, I'm in trouble. And that's one of the mistakes that it's really easy to make when you're leading transformation is, you're probably used to making steady progress in whatever you do, except for those moments when you're leading a transformation. And I don't care what people tell you after the fact. When people are leading a transformation, it's messy. They can go back afterwards and tell you this great heroic story about how they saved the day and they never even broke a sweat, and they're lying. Because anybody who's leading a transformation knows that it can get pretty ugly. So the first thing I had to help her do is to realize, okay, you can't just compare yourself to yesterday, because sometimes you win at that game in transformation and sometimes you don't. So I needed for her to expand her window. And I actually coined the phrase that day. I said, it needs to be a 2-week look back. So I call this the 2-week look back rule. So I said, look at your own situation. And for her, it could be both business results as well as her own sense of confidence and personal growth as a leader in the process. Either way, I said, you can't look at yesterday. Because what's going on is, while every day is up and down, what we'll find is if we were to sort of draw a line, and this is where you math experts may be saying, not quite right, but you get the gist of it. We can draw the line of the average of progress there. Hopefully it's ascending. And so what I asked her to do was, rather than to look at yesterday, just today versus yesterday, to look at the average of how are things going on average today, and compare that to where you were at least 2 weeks ago. Because that helps smooth out some of the ups and downs in the day-to-day of it all. And when she looked back 2 weeks, she was able to say, yeah, not only are our results on average better than they were, and she had some specific measures for work she was using, but also I actually feel more confident, better about myself as a leader today than I did 2 weeks ago. Not versus yesterday, but 2 weeks ago. Now, what I found, because now I've shared this with many people over the years, is sometimes you have to go back 4 weeks. Sometimes you have to go back 6 or 8 or 10. And this isn't just a way to avoid ever admitting that something is not going well. Sometimes it doesn't matter how big the window is. The answer is things are not going well. We need to learn and make some changes from this. But when the up and down is so great during the times of really rapid transformation, you really do need to use a bigger window of time so that you can understand truly what's going on and not just be overreacting to a very small set of data. So with her, it was 2 weeks. For you, you might need 4. Again, it's not an excuse to just avoid admitting that things are not going well. Now, once you've found that length of time where you can look back and say yes to it, again, not to hide the problems, but to acknowledge that it is so volatile, to look in too short a window, if that's the situation you're in, is just not going to give you, it's not going to help you make a good judgment. Once you've found that window, over time, if you can consistently say yes, let's say you chose an 8-week window, if you can consistently say yes to your 8-week look back over time, then it may be time to say, let's try 6 weeks or 4 weeks and see if you can keep pulling it in, because you don't want to always use that longer window. But during times of high volatility, sometimes the best choice is to be able to do that. Now, this is also true for you as a human. You know, I have clients who have called that have gone through personal crises that have applied the very same thing, because when your life itself is a mess, it's like this also. And sometimes just asking how am I versus yesterday isn't going to work. You need a longer look back. You can also apply the same thing if you're leading a team. It doesn't just have to be for you as an individual. Again, always it's important to know what are the business results that you're going to measure consistently. And when it's individual, you can ask yourself, what are the things about how I'm doing, how I'm feeling, what my inner state is that I'm going to look at, so that you can consistently look at them and ask, am I better or not? This allows you to, not lose the proverbial forest for the trees when there's a lot of things going on, and put your focus on the things that are actually going to be valuable to you, rather than trying to put out fires that don't really exist. So I'm excited to hear how you're going to apply this. And the next time you lead a transformation, I promise you, something like this might appear, and I hope that you can remember, use the 2-week look back. Thanks.